Tess. How are you today?
I am fantastic. How are you, Belinda?
I'm fantastic as well. I'm so excited that we're doing this interview today because I love what you do and I want to share it with everybody else.
Oh, well, thank you. I love what I do too.
So I'm going to start with your bio and I'm just going to read it.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Tess has spent over 25 plus years teaching, coaching, and providing hands-on therapy work. What she's learned is that movement and play are essential to everybody at every age. Even more so, movement and play can be something intentional and transformational. Through spatial dynamics, she changed her own space and body. And as she shared this experience with others, she began to realize that by creating personal space blueprints, restorative change can be constructed. That is your bio. And I think that that's a little bit of a foreign language to me. Personal space blueprints, restorative change, transformation, movement, what is it all about?
What is it all about? We all have personal space. We know that. We know that when somebody gets too close, right? And now it's a little farther out that you don't want somebody to get so close. But you want your family to be in, right? So you have this personal space and it moves and you can move it. And I explain it. My mentor, Tess McGinley, says it best. I think it's, if you asked a fish about the water, the fish would say, what water? So we are moving in this space, and athletes do it without thinking, and children do it without thinking, but we begin as adults to pull it in. And we can change that. And
you can pull the space around us in?
We pull the space around us in. We get our, yes, both. So you pull the space around you in because you're tense or you're afraid or you got injured and your arm's in a sling and your body does this naturally. Your body's like, no, you know what? I want to keep this safe. Now the sling's gone and your body is still trying to protect you. And it protects you by creating as much space between what might hurt you and you, but that's not serving you. So if you can move your space in a way that serves you, you can move longer, move better, move more beautifully with less effort. And I gotta tell you, it sounds good to me.
Yeah, it really does. It sounds really interesting. And I know that, we've been working together and as you can see, aren't I sitting up pretty straight?
Right.
I think it's worthwhile to think about my space, take that time to think about the space around my body and just sort of being mindful.
Well, and a lot of us walk around with our head like this forward. A very wise yoga teacher once told me, no, like this, like poked forward, just poked forward. And my yoga teacher said, you're not going to get where you're going faster by pushing your head forward. So just sit back and drive your car. And it wasn't really until I was in spatial dynamic that I learned how to do that in a consistent way and how to make the space for my neck. And I'm going to tell you a secret. Well, it's kind of an open secret. When I started spatial dynamics, I was 5'2.5". And when I ended spatial dynamics, I was 5'4.5".
What? No.
That's how compressed my spine was. And you can look because on the wall where my kids marked how tall they were, one day they're like, you go, mama. And they're like, no, that can't happen. But it's right there on the wall.
That's amazing.
But that's how much, right? Because think of it, here's my head. I just kind of do that. Look how much space I get, right? And so you do that consistently and your body gets used to it. The other thing about that is that the head is heavy. And the farther forward, as physics will tell us, the farther forward your head goes, the more weight it gives to all of this area, which we all know what happens with all of us there, right? Yeah. So it's much more tension on the neck and the shoulders. No bueno.
That's That makes sense.
Yeah.
So then let's move and talk about like let's move.
Let's
Let's
move.
talk about
Always.
the spaces because I'm thinking about my own therapy and like let's talk about the spaces in between and how that
Right.
supports our overall movement health. Like when you
Well,
talk about expanding our space also like all of that, how does that support our overall movement health?
okay. So everything in your body is space between, right? Because the amount of actual physical matter in your body is very small, and it always surprises everyone how much space there is. And the space in between actually is, if you look in folklore, is often considered um, a magical place. Sunrise and sunset, the space between the days. Um, but being able to find that space, and with you, we're working on that space between the vertebrae where our vertebrae tend to just crunch down, and we are seeing teenagers with vertebrae that are already stuck. And that means, as a teenager, what's going to happen later in life. And so to be able to find that space, to be able to move, you actually move more fluidly after doing this. And you move in a way that's not hurtful to your body, right? So you can do what you want to do. And here's the part that just, I mean, what I do just constantly amazes me, because it's just like, wow, it seems so simple, and yet it works. So when you do this, it's easier to do things. You move more quickly. And I guess my big story is that we had just learned about the space of the feet, and I came home and I was going for a walk with my kids, and I'm just kind of walking along and I'm imagining the space of my feet, and all of a sudden I hear my kids yell, and they're like, where are they? And I turn around and they're like a block behind me. They're like, Mama, you're walking too fast. And I had no clue I was walking that fast. I just went. So I use that when I walk half marathons, and when I can really be in that space of imagining my space, I just move, and it doesn't hurt, and I just. So it is a really exciting thing to do with other people, and to see them begin to feel their space move, and to begin to sit up. I mean, this is the big thing that I'm working on now, because I'm doing things because people are on Zoom all the time. Being able to sit up for a long amount of time with no pain, looking alert, whether or not you are is up to you. But sitting up without doing that thing that my dad was in the military, that kind of crunching back thing, to be able to sit like that for long periods of time. I mean, I have students, little kids, who can sit straight up for 45 minutes. It doesn't bother them. I also have top first graders who are like this. They already have like the weight of the world on their shoulders. So to be able to find that space for them is amazing.
And you're hosting weekly Zoom meetings where you kind of give little snippets of
Yeah, I'm doing a
people.
little short, like 15-minute Zoom weekly, and then I have a group of people who wanted to know how to be on Zoom and how to stay, because they have long meetings, and so I have that group started, and then I work with private clients and small groups, but those are the two that are running, and then I help people wherever they are.
Yeah, so
Right.
this
And it's and to find fun in it,
yeah.
because this could all get really very serious, and it doesn't need to be really serious. So when I help people sit up, I tell them the same thing I tell first graders. All right, let's put your crown on your head. And you would be surprised what that does even to grown-ups. They're like, yeah, oh, you've got your cape down your back, and they're like, oh, I look. So it's those little images that we can hold in our minds, and let our body listen, and then you do it a little bit of the day. It's a bit of a homeopathic kind of dose,
Yeah.
and then it becomes nature. I'll tell you what really struck me this time was when quarantine started, and I'm taking care of my mom, and I'm pouring the water from the tea kettle to make coffee. And I catch myself doing this to pour my coffee. And it had been a long time since I had done that. And the stress just, so I went back to all of my old things of, okay, I'm going to do this with my shoulders. I'm going to put that cape down my shoulders. I'm going to put my crown on my head before I pour the coffee. And it took me, maybe a couple weeks to be sure it was really solid. And then I didn't have to think about it anymore, but
and then your pouring becomes different.
and then I'm pouring like this. Yeah. The pot is doing the pouring and my wrist is doing the action. My trapezius is not, here, let me pour.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So,
So
tell me about Spiral Path Movement. That's the name of your company. So how does
right.
it play into this, utilizing
Well,
that
because
space?
it's exactly the same thing that I was just talking to you about, right? You start on this path and you go around and you come kind of back to the same spot. It's a little different, but you're just slow, you come back and redo things and retrace things and do them better and make little tweaks to them. So, I mean, most people imagine the path of life is like this straight thing, or then there's always all the graphs that are like straight up, and I think, no, it's more of a turning, and you're improving and getting bigger and better at each turn of the spiral. And so that's where that came from.
Interesting. And it has
Yeah.
nothing to do with, because when we're doing our therapy, you have often had me imagine like a
A
spiral
spiral.
and a spiral.
A
So like
spiral
that's
is one of those geometric forms found in nature. It's everywhere. Once you start looking for it, I mean, I am at the beach, so it's clearly it's in shells, it's in flowers, it's in pine cones, it's everywhere, and it's a piece of how the space around you moves, because the space around you moves much like water. Back to the fish again. And so that spiraling, and also this kind of eddying like a river,
Yeah.
right? Because the water doesn't really flow straight. It kind of curves. And if you see a natural river, they don't often run really straight. I mean, even within the Grand Canyon where it's been doing that, there's little pockets on the side. So those are the movements that we work with, for you to naturally move and to move with the flow rather than to move out of tightness.
Yeah.
And out of muscle.
Yeah. I remember when you were teaching movement at WISC, right? Waldorf Teacher Training, and you did mention about the movements that we imagine for our feet to move better, and which was the movement that you were imagining when you walk, faster.
Right.
And I utilized that when I was doing my half marathons, and it does work. It's just the weirdest thing. Like when you imagine your arms moving in a certain way to support you, and then your feet, it's literally not like you're not imagining your arms, you're imagining the energy, the air around you.
Yeah.
And most people don't think that we can utilize it. We don't understand that we're all energy beings, and that we all,
right,
like the energy around you can work with this energy body, and
it moves around you, and you think about that there is there's openness in you, right? So we often you and I are working about like a little spiral in your joint that, you can move it the tiniest bit, and you can, or sometimes you don't even move it at all. You just imagine that, and bam, you're like, okay, well, this finger's awake now.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and you don't, I have clients who can't reach their feet to do those kind of things, and they can still imagine that, and they can still get the benefits from being able to do that, because now I have to work via Zoom. So it's not like I'm going to be standing right there and doing hands-on treatment. So that's a whole different piece, to learn how to explain it over Zoom in a way that people can really get it and take it into their lives. And
and you work with clients, even yourself, right?
Right.
That you've moved them out of arthritis.
Yeah, I've done that. I I've worked with a lot of different people, kids with different issues. Sometimes the issues are amazingly enough academic, and their movement is not supporting their academics. Kids are meant to play. Actually, adults are meant to play. We're the only mammals, right? We're mammals. Mammals play. Well, most of them. Look at otters. Look at it. And we don't. And that shuts down a part of our brain. And kids need to move, and they need to move well before they begin doing things. Like skipping is a precursor to reading. Right? Because you've got that cross-lateral movement.
Yeah.
And it sets the brain up to be like, bam, they're reading, like, right. And so that's, and I see that in kids. The kids that can skip read much faster and much easier.
That's good to know. And
that's right
thing that people don't really think about when their children are challenged academically. They never think of movement. They think of drilling them more with more worksheets and more, more time spent with your nose in a book or in front of a computer to learn more. But it's really just about like, you probably need more movement, right?
And movement, yeah. And as an adult, you need that movement, because it's not going to stop, right? You're still hopefully still enhancing what's happening with your brain. And and things happen to adults, and circuits get messed up, and it's a constant, but it has to be fun. It just so much has to be fun, because we need that. It nourishes us in just an amazing way to be able to play and let go and let loose. And to do so physically, really physically. You think of that good belly laugh, right?
Yeah.
And what a difference it makes to like your mood, and it just lights you up. And to be able to find those ways to play, and to have your workouts even be play if you're an adult is great fun.
And play usually happens between, two people, not just one. And I would imagine, like, I'm imagining if I'm working out by myself, the movement can still be kind of constrictive unless it's like dance workout. But if you're actually movement in play, there's like expansiveness in that, and like all this space and joy,
and
fun,
and that timeless quality that play has.
Yes,
that's it. And you can play, you can walk along the curb and balance. You can hop on one foot. You can skip. Okay, you have to be willing to look a little goofy out there skipping, but skipping requires so much more of your body, so much more lift and cross-lateral movement that when I was teaching middle school, I was like, okay, time to warm up for running. And they're like, oh, we're going to skip. Because they were just like, they would skip a lap and they would just be like, oh. And, so when they running was like, oh, this is so much easier.
Piece of cake.
It's like, got it. So, you can find play. You can find it. I found a log the other day and just balanced across it, stood on one foot on it, fell on my face in front of all the walkers, and just laughed. They're like, oh, I'm like, no, no big deal. Stand. But that's it. And you just do, you find that space, and to be able, and if what you're imagining for your body is like, I'm putting my crown on my head, that's a little bit of play there too, because you get to imagine whatever kind of crown you want.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. It can be a Burger King crown. I don't care. It can be like, the whole grand tiara, whatever, feathers, you got it.
Yeah.
But, and if it brings a smile to your face, even better, because your body is going to go, oh, smiling. That's good. Good endorphins. Yeah. So anyway, it's a grand thing to do with people, I have to say.
Yes, definitely. Tell me, Can you tell me a little bit about personal space blueprint?
I
What
can
is
tell
that?
you I can tell you a little bit. What I do is a client will fill, or a prospective client will fill out a paper that tells me all about whatever their stuff is, right? I fell on my knees playing football when I was 18. I was on crutches. That would be me. And whatever. And then so I have that information. And then we have a one-on-one call, and I talk through what what it is that they feel like they need, what their goals are, a few other things. And then I write up a blueprint that has what they need to do for their head space. So their head, which your head should be pretty quiet. We call it the quiet head. Banging your head against the wall, bad, right? Keeping your head still, good. Um, then the flexible limbs, so you can get your limbs really moving in the way they should. Um, the shoulders relaxed. The shoulders are huge. Somebody told me one time, if you just did people's shoulders, you could make a mint. Because we live, here's my thing for everybody. When you go to the grocery store with your mask on, watch all the people in the grocery store line. It will be amazing. And to me, it's just, whenever I see someone who is not like this, I'm like, I actually say, wow, you have such good posture, because you know what, people need to hear that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And when we talk about the whole space, your whole personal space, sometimes I have something about journaling or looking at things. And so then I give you a little document that you can have that will help you get going on what you need to do. And I've given you some exercises already in that call. And then you make the decision. If you want to keep going and do that, great. If you want to work with me, great. Whatever, however that I can be of support to people. But yeah, it gives you just a little piece to go on.
A little overview of what you can
A little overview of these are the things. And I do them specifically for each person.
Right. They're
So
personal.
it's not the same thing. It's really very personal, because people, two people have the same neck issue or the same elbow issue. Who knows? And so I can really fine tune it that way.
Or even move the same.
No. And you know that when somebody's coming from far away, you can tell who it is by how they move.
Yeah.
I bet it's like, oh, that's my husband. I can tell. Right. And we call that movement ID. Right.
Yes.
So my movement ID during the course of my training totally changed. Right. The hunched shoulders, the head forward,
yes.
Right. You can't recognize. I look at pictures and I'm like, oh dear. But yeah. So
really
you do.
Cool. I almost feel like this movement therapy could be useful for job search. You know what I mean?
Are you sitting there? How are you presenting yourself? Yeah.
Like your own boss, or you want that position as a CEO somewhere, like walk like a CEO.
Right.
Hold your head like one. Command.
The space. Actors use this all the time.
Oh yeah.
Really? Either they use it or they just know it because they're actors, or a lot of actors take spatial dynamics because it makes a real change. It's a real change in how you go. So, the thing that I use with kids is, because I direct a little bit with kids, and what is leading your character? Is it their heart? Are they leading right from here? So can you really lead from there? Are they leading from their nose because they're, and it totally changes the way even you walk across the stage. Mm-hmm. So if you think about that in your own life, what am I leading with? Am I leading out of, am I trying not to lead with anything? So it's an interesting study, lifelong.
Powerful. And can be transformational, just like you said.
Absolutely. Oh, it certainly was for me. Just even, I would say that how people react to me is totally different.
Yeah.
Right. I'm 5. I was 5'2". I'm 5'4". Woohoo! But I'm not big. and I used to get treated like I was little.
Yeah.
I don't anymore.
Yeah. Makes
Yeah. Right. And because we're on Zoom, people expect me, it was very interesting. People expect me to be taller than I am.
because of your presence. You basically expanded your presence,
Right.
and that's
Yeah,
utilizing the space around you.
absolutely. And you can, and I, as a teacher, I use it all the time. I just expand it. I expand and I can hold that room of kids, and it doesn't take yelling. It
Yeah.
just takes being there yourself. So yeah.
So your website is Spiral Path
Spiral.com.
Movement.
Yep.
Perfect.
It is. It
Is
is.
there anything else you wanted to add in this interview?
I can't think of anything right now, but if anybody thinks of anything they want to ask me, just shoot me a question at spiralpathmovement.com and I will, or at, you can get me at Tess at Spiral Path Movement. Yeah. And
Perfect.
give me a question. And thank you so much. You, my shining, wonderful client who just like gets it and is bringing it to life. It is really, truly amazing to work with you. So thank you very
Thank
much.
you. I definitely walk taller because I mean, did you see me this whole time? I pretty much
It just like,
kept my
there,
posture, and that's
there
usually
you
what
are.
I am now.
Right.
It's
Right.
really
And there's, and it is, and it's just when it just flows, it so great. So
yeah.
great. So thank you so much for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Thank you. I'm sure we'll have you on again.
That would be great. Okay. Talk to you
Have a great
soon.
weekend. Bye.
Bye.